Hello everyone, how are you? My name is Ophelia, for those of you who don't know me. And today I want to talk a little bit about trust, but I wanna put it in the context of what is happening today in terms of this global crisis and our governments, our people, and where we are going, and our approach to dealing with this crisis situation. Is our approach making it better, or is it making it worse? As a nurse, I want to focus on some critical elements that I think some people do not have that kind of knowledge because they may not have been exposed to healthcare in the sense of providing care and knowing the whole background of how to deal with people. And so I just want to address a couple of things because I'm looking on social media and I'm seeing that, people are calling others silly because they have different point of views on how governments are managing this crisis situation. So one of the first things I want to address pertaining to getting others to follow you is that naturally we are human beings who have our own individual minds, and as such we do not appreciate when we are treated like robots. We don't appreciate that. What we as a people need to do is to understand that not everyone is going to be as compliant, and that just because you're not compliant doesn't mean that you are trying to be difficult or you are trying to cause more problems. If you take that approach, you are going to get into some problems. You are going to meet some problems if as a leader that you take an approach where you are demanding without listening, without considering. All right? So as a nurse, one of the first things that a patient looks at, that I realize that a patient looks at, is your character. When a patient meets you for the first time, they are assessing you, and many of them are. We may think that just because they do not know about healthcare, that they do not, they will just be gullible and trust us. But they are assessing you. They are listening to what comes out of your mouth. They are also looking to your actions. And so anyone that is leading any kind of intervention must be careful. It means that as leaders that we need to not just wait until there is a crisis to demand that people trust us, but we ought to be setting an example. We ought to be developing a character that over time people who are not readily trusting will trust you. All right? So your character must be proven. Your character must be proven. All right? And how do you prove your character? You prove it through trust. Now, trust is not an easy thing for many of us because we've seen how others that are placed in positions of trust can manipulate and can take advantage of our trust. And so we must earn the trust of those we are leading. Not everyone is going to be gullible. Not everyone is going to be a fan. And respect that those who are not gullible, and not that I'm saying that everybody who follows are gullible, but people have their personal reasons. Some people are familiar with you more than others. And so those who are not trusting of you, you need to earn their trust by your character, by what comes out of your mouth, by your mode of doing things, by your record. By your record, what kind of record do you have in terms of your accomplishments? It's not just academic. People don't trust you because of your academic qualifications only. People want to see you in action, and people want to listen to you, and people want to see how you deal with issues, and what do you do for the country as a whole, and how do you approach things. What are your results like? What is your level of accountability? People need to see these things. All right? And even in a patient setting, when I'm dealing with patients, sometimes they look at you and they like, you look, I remember when I was younger in nursing, people just looked at me and they say, well, okay, you look like a teenager. Because I was very skinny, and many of them wondered if I can move patients, if I can lift patients. And even some of them would have wondered, can I trust this person? And I didn't enforce the fact that, okay, you have to trust me. I first took the time to assess my patients, to listen to them, and I developed therapeutic relationships. And it's not that I am bragging, but I can say that I have never worked with a patient who did not ended up trusting me when I was finished with that patient. Never. I've never worked with a patient and who did not develop trust by the end of not even the end. You develop, because you see, you're trying to get patients to take care of themselves, and they don't have the information, but you can't just ram whatever you think down their throats. You have to listen to them, and you need to cater to their every need. It's not just, okay, this is what I want. Because in the end, if I want to give a patient medication and I don't develop that trust with that patient can refuse the medication and ultimately harm themselves. Because maybe by all means the medication may be good. I'm telling you the benefits of the medication. I'm also telling you the side effects of the medication, so that you can give an informed consent. You can consent to what I am doing, because I would have provided that information for you. I would have developed that rapport with you, and I would have been proving myself trustworthy by going through the steps and making you feel comfortable. By role modeling, because patients, look at you as a nurse when you are moving around the wards. It's the same way with our citizens. They look at us and they do things that we want them to do when they see that our actions are trustworthy. Honesty is another thing. So besides character, and earning their trust, and establishing a rapport and role modeling, there's also what you call honesty. Honesty is something that we take for granted, but the common man in the street, they need your honesty. So I want to say that your honesty is not just what you say today. Your honesty is what you say tomorrow. Is it consistent? Your honesty is judged by your results, your actions, who you relate to and how you relate. So if you're known to tell lies, people are not going to trust you. So that's another key element. So when people are asking for the reasons why people are disagreeing with the government policies as regarding to this crisis and taking the injectables, People need to realize that there are some people in our society, many of them, who have seen dishonest acts by their governments. And so you as a government and you as a leader, you are to be rectifying your behavior. Don't just expect that people are going to follow you. You must rectify your behavior. You have to rectify that behavior, or else remove yourself from certain things. Let people who are trustworthy be the ones to promote certain things. And I want to say here that the best people to promote in terms of healthcare are healthcare workers. Healthcare workers who are at the front, who are dealing with hands-on patients, doctors who are on the front line, and nurses who are in patient care. These are the ones who are to be promoting. But at the same time, there must be a balance between wanting people to act a certain way and providing that information that they need in order to act. And people, I've met patients who I have told the consequences of an action, and they go right ahead and they choose the one that you're advocating for. And I want to say that I could remember one time one of my sisters were ill, and my mom called me and she said that I needed to sign a paper to give them permission to take my sister to the ICU. And she was scared about it, and she was like, I don't know what to do. So I said to her, when you get to the ward, ask the doctor to call me. And the doctor called me. When you get to the ward, let me know so I can call the doctor, because I was overseas. And I called the doctor and I asked the question. I started, speaking with her. I explained who I was, and I explained the fears that my mother had. And to give credit to that doctor, she listened to me and she understood the fears. And even though it was not their policy to discuss things over the telephone, she realized that without giving me that information, that it can prolong the care that not needed to be given. And so she explained to me what was happening with my sister, and that there were two options. One option was to take her to the ICU, give her medication, get rid of those clots, and she could still die. And another option was let her be like how she is, she will die anyway. There was also the complication of losing her limbs. And all of that information sank inside of me. And then I spoke with my mom. I called my mom. I said, listen, you don't have a choice, because the benefits outweigh the disadvantages. If you don't do anything, she's going to die anyway. And so, this is the kind of approach that you need when you are dealing with critical issues. You need to start from the bottom up, not start from the top down. Because when you talk down to people, when you demand things of people without really listening to them and trying to understand where they are going, and without caution, without using caution, because you see, caution is very important. You cannot rush into things without being cautious. Right? It doesn't matter. You need to weigh the benefits and the disadvantages. Does this situation allow for me to take my time? Yes, you have medications that are expiring, but then is that reason to rush those who are reluctant? I don't think so. I really don't think so, because you're weighing the cons and the pros and the cons. What is the current situation like? And what's happening with the people? Why are they resisting? And is it that they want, because many people are like, okay, I need some long term, I need some more information, because I am scared of what will happen to me later on. Some people, they got the information and they say, you know what, I'm going to trust this and I'm going to go right ahead. And that's okay. But you cannot just be saying that what others are doing is foolish because they do not comply easily. You must understand that everyone is not the same. And until we do that, we are going to have resistance because we fail to put people first. We fail to put people's needs first. All right, so it's listening. Listening is very important. Listening and honest communication is very important. It's not just making rules, mandating stuff, and then putting it there and expecting people to follow. You are to listen. So this is a call for the authorities to listen to the people. You make a grave mistake when you start demanding things from people without first listening. You listen and you provide information and you approach things without the draconian measures. You get better results when a person is on board with you. And there is also the principle of autonomy. The principle of autonomy is one that nurses and other healthcare workers in the Western world has been including in terms of health and health promotion and health care. And what it means is that you provide the information to the patient, the pros, the cons. So if you're going to do a surgery, you don't just go and say, okay, well, I just found a mass in your breast and you need to cut it out. No, you don't do that, because if you do that, you're going to have resistance from most people. But instead, you say, you as I said, you do all of those other things. You develop rapport and make sure that patient trusts you, and you let them know, okay, well, I found from the biopsy that we did, we found a mass in your breast. And then the patient might, well, you know, what does that mean? So you explain exactly what it means to find a mass in the breast and what are the implications of that. And then the patient may not know to ask, but some of them may. Oh, what are my options? And then when the patient asks you for their options, you are not to tell them one thing, if you know that there are many options. So based on your symptoms and based on the stage of the cancer, these are the options. If there is nothing that can be done, break it down, be gentle, but tell them the truth. That's simply it. So when we approach things in honesty, honest communication, we get better results, both for ourselves and for our patients. So it's one thing to demand, but when you demand, expect to meet resistance. It's another thing to develop trust with your people, so that we don't see you all looking like all afraid, and because even as a nurse, patients look at us. And so you can imagine the public looking at you as leaders, and they're not, some of them are not convinced because they have been looking at your attitude the whole time. So you can't expect magic, because you never created the conditions for magic. You never did. Right from the start, right from the time, you don't wait until there is a crisis to develop trust. You have to do the trust from the beginning. You must lead by example. You must be objective, and you must be honest in your communications. You must listen. You must have a relationship with those you are trying to influence. I come on here and I sell my little books, and people who don't know me go and buy my books. They don't buy my books because they want to buy my books. There are much more educated authors out there who can buy whose books people can buy. Right? There are much more educated authors and much more famous authors out there whose books are way better than mine. They are bestsellers, you know. But people buy my books because they've been looking at me, and they don't buy my books because of the interest in the books. They buy my books because they appreciate what I am doing. Because I would have not just jumped out of the blue. I've been doing this for years. I've been developing rapport with people for years. There are some people who hate it and some people who appreciate it. And those who appreciate it will show their appreciation. That is it. You don't get it going backwards. So what are you to do? You got to start from scratch. And the problem is that many times it's hard for people to trust you after you've lost their trust. It's very hard. So perhaps it's time for those who are trustworthy to lead the cause with this crisis. Instead of having people who are not trusted by the public in the forefront, it's time for those who are trusted to be in the forefront. Let them educate themselves on the crisis, what is happening. Let them meet with people in the clinical areas when they see them and conversate with them, listen to them, do their research, and provide honest information. And I want to say here, it's not Teachers Association, Public Service Union to educate members on any kind of treatment. That's the role of a healthcare professional. So, Teachers Association, Public Service Union are not responsible for educating their members. They are there to advocate for their members. And I'm pretty sure they would have reached out to their members, and because of that, that is why they are coming to the forefront with their move that they are making. It is not idiotic. Just because you do not agree with it doesn't mean it's idiotic. Just because so you understand what your behavior is just causing more resistance. When you call people idiots because they have genuine concerns, your behavior becomes just encourages the resistance. If you personally want to do a decision, go ahead and make your decision. But allow others to exercise their autonomy regarding their health. Allow others to ask questions and to resist if they feel in their own mind and conscience, based on what is being done, that they do not want to participate at this time. We must respect that. And sadly, many of the people who are really cursing out others are just doing it because of this whole political mind frame. But we got to move past that. Because if we keep looking at things based on our political affiliation, we will not help the cause. We are actually not helping the cause by doing so. Agree with people that they have, there is things. Sometimes it's good to agree, It's good to agree, because in agreeing, people soften up and they become more compliant. But when you disagree and you tell them they're stupid and they're uneducated, they got a problem with that. So fix that problem. If you fix that problem, fix the honesty, fix character, fix trust, and role model, listen, and honest communication, then we will get somewhere. That's all I wanted to say today, folks. And of course, you're entitled to your views on the matter. This does not compose everything that I could say on this matter, but I wouldn't go into deep things on this because that's not my level. But what I wanted to bring out here is the critical elements when dealing with people and getting them to move in a particular way that you want them to move. People don't care about your qualifications. They care about trust, honest communication, your character. These are the things that matter. So we need to address these things, and once we do, we will have a better, a better society where people are feeling autonomous, and when they make decisions, they want to know that no one forced me into doing this. I did this of my own. Now, if you could get people to do this, people will be more likely to listen to you. All right, so thank you very much, folks. Have a great day, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay.